Awesome.
Hi.
Welcome, everyone. Hi. Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the White Light Collective podcast. I'm Monique Morrison, the founder of Moonbeam Healing, and I couldn't be more excited to share this space with you. Moonbeam Healing was born from my passion for spiritual connection, energy work, and the power of holistic healing. And it's not just a shop and event space, it's a community, a sanctuary, and a place for seekers to explore, learn, and grow on their journey. So, this podcast is really an extension of that mission, a place where we can dive into deep into conversations about energy healing, intuition, personal transformation, and all things metaphysical. And so, what better way to begin than with a truly special guest, Nicky Lee? Nicky is an intuitive holistic health practitioner with over 15 years of experience in the wellness field. Her own healing journey first led her down this path, and now she shares the tools that she's gathered to help others restore balance and harmony from the inside out. She is a Reiki master teacher trained in multiple lineages, a certified breathwork instructor, and a trauma-formed yoga coach. She also offers access bar sessions to help release trauma loops. And as a sound therapist, she works with crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, gongs, tuning forks to shift energy and promote healing. In addition to her one on one work, Nicky facilitates group healing experiences from sound baths and breathwork circles to courses like the Toolbox and Cultivating Peace. She's also currently pursuing her BA in psychology to deepen her understanding of the human psyche and healing. So today we'll be diving into a powerful conversation with Nicky about energy healing, spiritual awakening, and the magic of trusting your intuition. So whether you're new to the path or well on your journey, I'm sure this episode will be filled with wisdom, insight, and inspiration. And I just want to let you know that we do have a special giveaway. So we'll be drawing for a $25 Moonbeam Healing gift certificate during the show. And to enter, all you have to do is leave a comment during the live broadcast, and one lucky viewer will win. So be sure to engage with us and let us know that you're here. Yeah, all right, let's get started. Nicky, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. What a great experience.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be able have you to have you here. And I've known you for so
Hopefully
long.
everything is working out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see my camera's really lagging behind, so hopefully my voice matches the picture on the screen.
it is for me. Yeah, it looks fine on my end. So I think that we're good to go. Oh, so okay, yeah. So we'll kind of jump into it and get started. So I kind of called this podcast From Healing to Healer because that's really where the roots of your journey started. And over the years that I've known you, it's one been really great to just understand all the wisdom and stuff. But I think that's where a lot of people start is they start this journey of their own healing. And then when you have these transformations, you kind of want to share it with the world. So why don't you just kind of to start to reflect on your personal journey and where you started and how you kind of ended up wanting to help others because you have so many modalities too.
Right, right. It's all teachings, right? It's all everything is a teacher. I even today is teaching me maybe to step out of my own box, right? And just be okay with who I am. My journey, actually, when I think about it and I bring back to a starting point, I don't know if I can even define a starting point. So when I became more aware that I had these gifts was, I think it was back in 2000. I want to say it was around 2016, 2015. I was in a series of car accidents. Like, it happened one right after the other within a few month period. I think there was about 4 car accidents, and the last one was right by my where I currently live. And with that car accident, I'll just be straight up on and honest, is that I should have died. My car was completely mangled. It was a really severe accident, and I walked away without a scratch on me. So that sent me down this path of trying to find purpose. Like,
Mm,
why was I put in this situation, and why did I survive? And that's how things started to unfold for me, where I became more consciously aware that they were starting to unfold for me. So what happened shortly after that for me was that I had gone to the doctors. I was having these really vivid dreams where what we call astral projection, where you could actually view, I was actually viewing myself in while I was sleeping. So I was outside of my body. I went into the Western medical system. The Western medical system says, you have PTSD. Here, take these pills. You'll be fine. Come home. Didn't want to take the pills. I'm like, no, there's something else happening. So I went through what I see now as this period of the dark night of the soul, right?
mm,
So everything around me and everything I thought was real was collapsing, and all this stuff was happening to me, and I didn't know where to turn. And with that car accident, I was fortunate enough that my insurance company sent me to see a professional, because they said, if you're not taking the pills, you have to be doing something. So they paid for me to go and see a professional therapist. And I am going to say that woman um, really opened up these gifts that I had.
mm,
And when I say that is that when we started to do these counseling sessions, she did a thing called MDMR, and it was a series of beeping in the head. And she had said to me, I want you to experience or come back to 3 memories of yours that you ever felt happy. And she gave me kind of these ideas, the birth of my children, your wedding day, your things that would bring you happiness. And when that session was done and the headphones come off, I said to her, I don't remember ever being happy. I couldn't bring a memory up because I didn't understand that how the emotion felt.
mm,
So that flew me back into doing all these inner child work. I guess we would call it inner child work. And I really had to look at where my mind shut off to, so that I could no longer feel happiness. And something as simple as happy. So that's, I think, how the journey of awareness started to happen for me in my healing journey. As where I am now in my path, I want to say that it's always been with me. And
mm,
I'm a storyteller. So I'll share another story that I actually, thinking back. So about 20, I'm going to say about 25 years ago, I was working in a factory and I had hurt my lower back. So I went to see this woman that was located in the community that I'm in, and she was doing acupuncture on me. And she would bring these students in, and she'd ask me if I could, these students could work on me, and they were doing what I see now as an energy practice on me,
mm,
working with smudge sticks and crystals. And at that time, 20 some years ago, that wasn't something I would even think about. Like, I worked in a factory, I had kids, my life was just white picket fence normal. And one day I had gone to see this woman, and she'd said, I'd like to read your eyes. So she brought me back into the back office, and she started reading my eyes and she asked me a question. And I remember feeling the life of me just drain out of my body. And I was so scared to answer her question. I ended up leaving and back, like running back home. And when I come back, like that the next day, I didn't want to see that woman anymore because I was absolutely terrified to what she had to tell me or what she had to share with me. And flash forward 23 years later, I'm in the grocery store or a grocery store. Maybe it was about 21 years later. I was in the grocery store and this woman sees a ring that I'm wearing and we have a discussion about it. And she says, "Hey, look, do you want to see some books? I have some books for you." I said, "Okay." And I gave her my address and she shows up with this box of books. And here they are, the books of that lady from 20 some years ago. All her
No.
handwritten notes, all her
Wow.
stacks of her books. Like there's binders of all these energy practices. So if I think back about that, I think that I've always been, and I think everybody has always been in preparation. And the teacher arrives when the student is ready, kind of thought,
Hmm.
right? I wasn't
Hmm.
ready back then. Was I ready 21 years later? Absolutely.
I love that. And it's
You
so
know, we
interesting in hindsight to be able to see all those synchronicities. But yeah.
Yeah, it took 21 years or 22 years for that to unfold in my life and for me to be ready. So that comes back to, I want to just share that it's not rushing to the end. People always want to rush to the end and pick up more modalities and do all this extra stuff, but they miss the whole process of it. By doing so, you miss the whole process of it.
Mm, mm. And so you kind of started on this healing journey and you got these books from this lady. And then I guess because you have a lot of modalities within your toolbox, a lot of ways that you help people, what was the first thing that kind of drew you in and you said, I'm going to use this to be able to help people?
The first tool that I ever acquired was back from the second lady. So she gifted me a pendulum
Mm,
and she showed me how to use it within our counseling sessions. And
love
then
it.
the art of crystals come in. I took a couple of Reiki courses, and that's what started it. And from Reiki, I went to access bars. And one day, I um, one day I ended up getting a set of sound bowls, and it was almost instinctual that I knew how to play them. I did
You
take
are.
a lot of extra courses, yeah, courses in like the science aspect of it so that I could, and music theories, stuff like that, so that I actually knew what I was doing, but my spirit knew how to work with sound.
Mm, mm, I love that. And you are amazing. I know at Moonbeam, everyone that comes to the sound baths, they always just leave feeling so amazing. And they're always coming back. As soon as we open up dates, it seems that they're always, all the spots are taken up as soon as they appear. And so for like your own journey, like I loved how you were talking about, don't kind of rush through it and kind of just go from modality to modality because it's part of the journey. And for some people, yes, they may end up becoming practitioners, but some people, they're just on their own personal healing journey. And maybe you could provide some insight from your own perspective of um, maybe some things where people, if they're feeling ready, just some tools or some insight how they can ease themselves into reconnecting and reclaiming themselves and their power, or removing old trauma if needed.
I would, if I could do it all over again, you know, I think part of, if we're working with trauma, I think connecting back to our bodies is the most important key. And if I could do that all over again, I probably would have just learned one tool and then started, you know, if I think about it, I myself, and the only reason I speak on the rushing through, trying to rush through life is and rush through all these modalities and picking up all these pieces, is that sometimes we look at these pieces as an external source,
Mm,
right? These are external to us, and it's not, and they kind of distract us from what's in the heart, right? We already know how to heal ourselves.
mm.
We don't need somebody to tell us how to do it. We need tools to improve our healing journey more.
Yeah,
Maybe
and that's so
understanding
true.
who we are as an energetic being or a person of systems, right? Medical science tells us that we're our bodies are a slew of systems, right? But they don't tell us about the energetic system. They don't tell us how the meridians work, or how to face map, or how to look at the energy patterns in the world around us, because what we project, what we're seeing and feeling on the inside is always projected on the outside, right? The
Hmm.
triggers that start here in the grocery store, and through voice, and through meeting people, and exes
Hmm.
showing up in your life. Why are they here? Well, there's some deeper work that you need to look at, right? They're not meant
Yeah.
to, they're meant to teach you a lesson, to show you
Mm.
where to go.
Yeah, and I come across that very often, especially at the shop, because people will come in and they'll be like, "What do I need for this, or what do I need for that in terms of crystals or other tools that we have there at the shop?" And when I'm picking up on that kind of energy, like they're looking for something external to heal themselves, I always try to remind people, like, this is just a tool. All of the power that you need is within you. And
Yeah.
if you didn't work with any tools, you would still have it within you to be able to protect yourself, to, you know, bring about more courage and abundance and healing. And so I think it's, yeah, I love that it's an important reminder that we are powerful. And
You're powerful beings.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so did you have like a spiritual side as a kid? Did you have any kind of gifts growing up, or is it something that as you were having this kind of awakenings, 20 some years ago, that the gifts appeared? Because some people, they're like, oh, I knew since I was little, or some people it
I
comes later on.
I can honestly say I don't remember much of my childhood, so I can't come back and say that I've always had these gifts as a child, or I always knew, because that wouldn't be
Mm,
true for me, because I don't really remember.
mm,
Into my childhood is very fragmented, and that's probably part of a trauma response, right? As we know. So
mhm,
it was after the accident that stuff started to appear more in my life, and now it's just like an everyday thing. I
yeah.
balance is key. Balance is key, because I can live a spiritual life, but I also know that I have to live in this three-dimensional world where I have bills to pay, and I can go to school, and I can meet people, and life is that big journey, but everything in balance.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm an Aquarius sun, so I can be very much in my head and very much out of the world, and that's something that I practice often to ground myself, to make myself present, and to keep myself in the world. And I think um, when you're learning new things especially these different modalities and just different ways of being and different ways of understanding, it can almost not really be like an addiction, but kind of, because you just want to be able to consume. And once you kind of, open the veil and you start to see this yeah, this whole new way of viewing the universe and energy and existence and yourself, it's hard not to want to just kind of continue on that path, but reining it in, so you're continuing to be present,
Right.
aware, and
Right, because we don't want it to be fanaticism. That's a big thing,
mhm,
right? You wanna feel that energy and that joy, but we don't want it to turn into fanaticism where it's completely consumed your entire life,
mhm. And much like
right?
you were saying, when you're in this constant learn mode, there's learning and then there's doing. And
Right.
so that's something that I've had to kind of make sure I do, because I'm an avid learner. I'm a voracious learner, and so I can just consume and consume. But learning how to,
Fully step into that
um,
next role. That's the part of that
yeah,
transformation part, right? And not everybody will do it. Not everybody will take courses, and not everybody wants to go beyond their own healing, right? And that might be just a piece that you're here to learn, or here to be, um is to learn those pieces so that you can carry on, right? It might take 20 years and you might use them 20 years later. Hey, I remember this, or I automatically know what I'm up to, what I'm supposed to be doing. So enjoying that journey, right? Enjoying that journey as the way it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to unfold.
and so when you're working with clients, like I know that we had a conversation before and you were like, oh, this lady's coming. And then the next time I saw you, you were like, oh, she came, and I knew immediately that we needed to do a cedar bath. And so what's kind of that process? Like, do you know somewhat of a structure going in, what you're going to do when you're working with someone, or do you do it intuitively once you're kind of speaking with them? How do you kind of channel that inner knowledge and balance that with like working with clients?
So first, I want to say that I have not trained in cedar bath, the teaching part of it. So I don't offer cedar bath. That was
No, I know
one
that.
occasion that,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just so I put it out there because it's on live, right? And I don't want people to think that's something that I actually do. But with that being said, so what happens is as soon as that person books a session, or you know that that person is coming in, oftentimes I change.
Mm,
My thought pattern changes, my habits start to change, random things start coming up in my life that really don't fit anywhere um, into what I would see my normal as being.
mm,
And that
mm,
that begins this process of me starting to work with that person's energy. And it's like an entering of a field, even though the appointment hasn't taken place. And I think that has to do with magnetism and the point of you knowing exactly what needs to be done, because now you are starting to move into that person's energy field prior to.
mm, mm.
And then
I
when that
love that.
person comes in, everything kind of just flows and puts everything into alignment and into place.
I get that. I love
Yeah.
that. Um, and so you do a lot of sound,
Hmm.
kind of sound healing, energy work. And I know that you did like an intro to sound healing workshop at the store, and there was a lot of like chants and stuff like that. And recently, I within the last year really gotten into chanting, and I just love the way it feels. I love the way that it kind of like moves energy and stuff like that. And so, um, I guess, do you want to just talk a little bit about like using ourselves as instruments, and if someone wanted to be able to do that even just at home by themselves, like how would you envision that? Like, what would you suggest for someone that just wants to test it out and feel and see if it's something that resonates with them?
Well, number one sound is the humming. I'm sure
Mm,
everyone that's listening to this and everyone that'll see actually knows how to hum. We've been humming for years, and that's actually a way to regulate our nervous system. And our
mm,
parasympathetic nervous system is just that simple, hmm, hmm, and you can pitch and tone your voice to uh, what your body needs, and just taking that time to even if it's 3 minutes, sit down on your floor, sit down on your bed, and just start to hum and feel into the body. Again, I'm going to come back to how it feels in the like when you're doing energy practices, or just coming back to your body and recognizing what it is. So if you incorporate humming, you're going to notice how it shifts how your body starts to shift, your energy starts to shift, how it feels in your lungs, how it feels. Hey, I feel this in my arm. Why am I feeling this in my arm? As you continue, and then oftentimes you'll feel surges coming up the spine. You'll feel that sound start to circulate you.
mm,
So, and the workshop that I presented was geared to toning with each chakra. So each
mm,
chakra has a sound as well. So you can build up a practice and create a toroidal field with your own voice, because that's empowerment, right? This is where empowerment comes from, is our throat.
I love that. Um, yeah, and when I think of, changing and making sounds, I honestly hadn't really thought of like humming and just starting with humming. And I know a lady that, when you were saying that I actually know a lady and she hummed all the time, and she was always kind of like in good spirits, but she was an older lady, and she actually attributed, I was like, "Oh, how are you so like peppy and like all this stuff?" And she's
Yeah,
like, "I just hum everywhere I go." And I
yeah.
don't know if she knew anything about sound healing, but that was she attributed it um to the humming. So I love I love that.
Well, I believe that. And a lot of people don't even realize that they're doing it, and they're actually doing it. They already have the tools. They already have the
Hmm.
tools. And it just takes even this conversation to wake somebody up into
Hmm.
knowing the tools you do have, right? Because everything is divinely guided, really.
Hmm. And so, you were talking about how you went to see someone and did EMDR sessions. I did the same, and the lady that I went to, the doctor I went to. She was amazing.
She saved my
And
life.
yeah,
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 she totally saved my life.
she's actually quite magical in and of like in her own ways, and that would to me was part of my inner child healing. That was a big part of it. But there's also this kind of balancing between, I guess, like modern day traditional kind of care and working through that. Because for me, like, cognitive behavioral therapy, the talking therapy, never really resonated. I had tried it multiple times, but the EMDR helped. And at that same time, I was kind of going through this, I guess, dark night of the soul, this transformation, and I kind of fumbled my way around it. But for you, now that you have so many years experience and you've done your own inner child kind of healing, um, what would you say is like a good place to start if if they know and they're aware that they have some inner child work to do, but they just don't know where to start? All they know is that they don't want to feel like have the triggers or feel the emotions that they once had. What would be a good first step?
Well, a good first step would probably be to go and see somebody, go get some help in order for
Hmm.
you to um, I still go to see helpers. I just had a session on Tuesday. I'm
Mhm.
never not a never completely healed. I often say, like, to people, because they're like, I thought I dealt with that. And I'll say, well, new level, new devil. Because it's like an onion, right? You just keep peeling it back. And
Mhm.
more stuff comes up. And, we're never fully, until you're ready to do this work on your own, go to see
Mhm.
somebody. Go see somebody. And it might be a simple conversation. It might be just that person's energy. It might be, they might just open up the box for you.
Mhm.
They might trigger
Yeah.
you, and you might say, "Ooh, I don't want to go see that person again." And then you might have to take a step back and say, "Why? Why am I triggered by that person? Why am I triggered into, why am I feeling this way after I've gone to see that person? It's working." You know,
Mhm.
you oftentimes I say this to people, and even in group sessions and individual, you may feel like $1,000,000 today, but tomorrow your whole life will come crashing down. So just be
Mhm.
prepared. Oftentimes I often do follow-ups with people too within a couple of days time, because I don't want people to feel like that they've come to see me and then the next day I'm shut off like that. You can't contact me anymore. I care about people. I care about people's wellness, and you know,
Yeah,
I
and when you have
support.
those shifts, yeah, it's nice to have that support when you're going through shifts. Like
Yeah.
that is definitely like an onion. I know for myself, when I started doing inner child work, it was like a pretty long process, and then I was like, okay, I feel secure, in myself, and but then there was the next thing, right? And for me, I don't deal with a lot of the same issues that kind of stemmed from some of the trauma and the abuse that I went through. But then I feel like for the last couple years, I've been on it's like, okay, I can feel steady with that within myself, and now I have to move. But then I realized, I was like, oh, now I'm working on money wounds because of the way that my parents dealt with money, and the things that my mom kind of instilled in me in terms of money beliefs. And so I don't normally have to work through inner child stuff, but it's like now I'm working through a whole other slew of things that I guess partially is inner child, but for me, I had like a very kind of crazy childhood, but it's like this whole other dynamic that working through.
Yeah, it's like the behavior, right? The genetic stuff. I oftentimes, like, when I did this work, and then I started about 7 years ago. I want to say 7 years ago, I was introduced to Gene Keys, which is a phenomenal tool. So now, like, flash forward about 5 years, about 2 years ago, I started really taking a deep dive into my genetic profile. And right, and that will actually help you. There's certain things that it picks up on, like shadow aspects, where we turn them into gifts, where we turn them into the city, which is the enlightenment piece. But I've learned more about myself on this journey, from the gene keys than the dark shadow work. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm
Mm,
still going through those dark periods. I absolutely, but now I can recognize it. Okay, how do I transform this? How does it become part of my journey now? Right? Or this is what happened to me. This sphere right here all has to do with the age of 1 to 8, and what happened in your life at
mm,
1 to 8. So you could pinpoint it now, where it's not so much continuously healing trauma, healing trauma. Sometimes you just got to be, hey, this, I recognize this, right? This is part of this. But let's do a
mhm.
little deep dive on that part of my life, so that,
Yeah, and so for people that are watching that don't really know what gene keys, what it is, can you just explain what it is for
so
those
Gene
that
Keys is
aren't
a
aware?
um you can get a free profile online at thegenekeys.com. And what it actually it spits out, it has nothing to do with astrology, but it goes by your birth date and your astrological, or your place of birth. And what it does is it prints out this genetic profile. And I can tell you, mine was spot on. It was absolutely
Hmm.
spot on, even from my life's work down to, and there is a section in there that deals specifically with inner child. Since we were talking about that, those spheres specifically deal with your inner child.
Hmm.
Did I freeze?
Yeah, I hear you, but the video is frozen. So, but I do hear you. So if you want to continue, and then.
Yeah. So where was I here? Okay. So yeah, so they deal with specifically, they're not, there are, they, it is a way to heal, but that kind of stuff too, again, is an inner journey and how you perceive what the words are and what you're hearing and how you're understanding it, right? Because
Hmm.
everything is a projection and a mere reflection of our entire journey. What you see on the outside is happening on the inside.
Hmm. Very cool. And so, how did you come across that? Did you just like, was there someone that you knew that was doing it, and then uh, or was it just in your research? Because I don't, I've only heard a few people really talk about it. I don't think it's something that's very mainstream right now.
Well, I think it could be mainstream by now, but it was about 7 years ago, and it just happened to pop up when I was doing research on healing. And
Mm.
it was like just a small ad, and I immediately connected with it. And I thought, well, I don't want to have to pay, $190 American for this course. Um, and then I just kind of left it. And then it just kind of kept appearing at different stages of my life. And I'd go a little bit deeper with it. And about 2 years ago, I picked up the book and I started reading it, and I was blown away. I was completely, because you don't understand it when you just get that holographic profile and you're like, oh, what does this mean? Because there's all these spheres, and I don't I don't understand it. It can be a bit overwhelming. So it's taken quite a number of years to just even get to this point with it with me.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I want, as soon as we get off today, now I'm going to go to the Gene Keys website and
Yeah,
look up my profile.
yeah.
And so there's another modality that you have that's been really interesting for me, and that's the access bars. I don't know a lot about it. I just had like one friend kind of explain it to me. They weren't a practitioner, so it was kind of like a kind of third party trying to explain a concept that they weren't really trained in. So, um, what is the access bars too?
So access bars is 32 pressure points on the head, and it is um when and there's no yeah, and you're totally conscious and you're totally awake. So when we do like an energy practice like Reiki or sound or anything like that, there's no talking. But access bars is totally a totally different element where you talk and you communicate. And as a practitioner, like bringing somebody in, that practitioner can listen to what that person's saying, and it oftentimes goes with the pressure points that you're working on
Mm.
in the head, and it's done through clearing statements. It's a
Oh,
clearing
okay.
statement. So you're engaging with each other the whole time the conversation happens. And it's like hitting a delete button on files. And it's all done
Okay, very cool.
on the head. Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty interesting modality.
And so there's stuff that you're doing on the head, and then the person is kind of saying statements. So is it similar to like Ho'oponopono? But obviously different because there's much more to it.
There's a little bit, it's a little bit deeper than that because it is based on clearing statements, like is a mantra. The Ho'oponopono is a mantra, right?
Hmm.
So this one is you're totally whatever conversations come up, there's no script for it.
Okay, very
So
cool.
you can watch TV, they actually encourage you to watch TV and keep the brain active as you're going through the process. So it's different
Hmm.
from when we're working with sound where the brain waves are slowing down, or you're putting people into such a relaxed state that the healing takes place. This one
Hmm.
is you're totally aware. It's about awareness, right? Hey,
Hmm.
so I'm feeling this right through my knees, you know?
Yeah, I like that. That it's because some people have a hard time, and so I was once told that access bars would be good for children that like have ADHD. Is that
Mhm.
something that you know of? And understanding how the process works, it almost sounds like it would be because it might be difficult for someone um, with ADHD or ADD to be able to like lay and be still and to really quiet their minds in order for them to come, down into these um, kind of states of relaxation to allow kind of healing to occur. But it sounds like access bars, even if they're kind of their mind is active, that's almost encouraged.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I know that there's been quite a number of studies that you can go and look at with. I think it was called. Let me see if I can pronounce the word right. Phenotherapy, phenology, and that is
Mm,
all designed with pressure points as well. So I think that Access Bars is based on that, but it's a more simplified version of what that used to be. And I believe the woman that it was in the 1800s that it was in all the science books, right? Like in the psychology and um, books on that. But there is further studies being done on kids with autism, and it would work a lot better. It would work better. I actually use when I work with children that have autism or ADHD. Um, I use sound.
mm,
Yeah, so I can't speak exactly on the access bars, but I do know that the sound, I not the crystal bowls, but the Tibetan, because they get to engage with it. It's not my
mm.
product. It's not mine. I usually just hand them the bowls and they do the work
Oh, I love
until I
that.
can get to, and you can watch everything kind of just settle, right? And then I'm able
Mm,
to do a little bit more work with the tones and the sounds because they're,
mm.
yeah.
Awesome. So I guess for you in your day-to-day life, like you, every time I talk to you, you always have so much going on. And so what are some of the practices that you try to incorporate into your daily life to stay grounded and protected, and just kind of keeping yourself centered and in a good state?
Well, I'll give you a morning. I'll give you an idea of a morning for myself. So in the morning, I do not touch any social media, emails, any electronics, at least for the first half an hour of my day.
Mm-hmm.
I love the 5 a.m. club just so I can fit my entire life in. Oftentimes I get exhausted, but I still do it. And
Mm-hmm.
yoga, breath work, and meditation is how my day starts. I tried, for years and years. I like to call it like I run my life on stickers and color coded because I had a schedule that was completely color coded and so structured. And when I left my professional job, I didn't know what to do with myself, and that was the first thing I had to throw out. And
Mm,
when I work with people who are in, say, in chronic stress, I say to them, "What's your morning like? How do you start your morning? Do you start your morning by hitting the floor and running to the coffee maker and going to the washroom and everything is like clockwork? Sometimes you have to
mm,
switch that around." Right? You can't expect everybody to get up and do a 20-minute yoga practice in the morning or a 20-minute breath practice, but then again it's 20 minutes.
mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah.
settings there's settings on your phone where you can check how long you've been on your phone, so
Yeah.
you have room to make changes. People have room to make changes in their life, but they're sidetracked by an external source.
Yeah. And my morning routine is very similar, and I actually notice such a difference. I used to sleep with my phone in bed with me,
Mhm.
and I would look at it basically until I put it under my pillow. And we'll even talk about just
Right.
like that in and of itself, having that device in the bed with me. But then just consciously putting it away across the room so when I woke up, it wasn't the first thing because, yes, When you go to look at your screens, and for me being like a business owner, it's like there's all of these messages and emails and all of these things and social media notifications, and it's just like, yeah, just kind of bringing it down. Do you want to try turning on your camera again? See if it's
No, as soon as I try to, no, it will not work.
that's okay.
So maybe I'm in the dark night over here.
So you're kind of like you've started your BA. Actually, you got your BA, right? And now you're doing your master's. Is that
No,
correct?
no,
Oh,
I
okay.
am a 44-year-old first time university student.
Yay.
The last time I went to any kind of education was back in 2009, and it was
Mm,
a certificate, and that's what I based my career on. And it just no
nice.
longer fit, and I will share a story because I love sharing stories. So I
Yeah.
worked with somebody, and they had seen me. There was a picture posted online of me at Algoma University, and this lady had said to me, "I've seen your picture there. What are you taking?" And I said, "What am I taking?" I said, "The universe is my teacher." And I opened my hands up, and this lady said, "Never say never." And about 3 weeks later, I'm driving up to the city, and I'm thinking, I wonder what it would be like if I went to university. What would I
Mm,
take? And I come home that day and I said to my partner, I said, I think I'm going to sign up for university. And he's like, yeah, okay, do it. And I totally got in. I totally got in. And it was like, yeah, I guess I'm supposed to be here. And I'm in my second year. I'm almost done my second year. So I'm halfway through. And this past summer, I took a developmental psychology course. And I'm going to share how this kind of unfolds in an unusual way. So I was looking through the library to rent the book because textbooks are quite expensive for students. And I'm scrolling away through these textbooks and I recognize this one and I open it up, and isn't it an intro to psychology textbook that I have owned? And flashback, my I remember being about 11 years old, sitting on a waterbed reading this introduction to psychology textbook, and
mm.
here I am 33 years later studying that book but just at a different level.
What are the chances?
What are the chances? Everything has its slow down. Everything that's meant for you will come when it's the time is right.
And so, you're in your second year, and you're kind of going down this path, but how has what you're learning um, in your program, has it shaped at all the way that you do your spiritual work and your healing work?
Well, I actually have the piece of it that I was looking for going to university this time, like this at this time of my life. I actually, it's the sciences and the math. What the
Mm,
work that I do is not would not be proved by science, not yet, anyways. They'll mention it, but unfortunately, it's pseudotherapy, right? So there's no
mm,
scientific backing to it or anything like that. So this is actually giving me that other side. So here I am in the 5D world or that spirit world, but I still have to stay in this world because I live here. That
mhm.
so
So,
that's helped me learning about the brain, how the brain responds, how we as humans, our psyche is changed a lot of direction for me as well because I'm getting a tool from it, right?
mhm.
Doesn't matter how the
Um,
tool comes as long as it comes.
yeah, honestly. So, do you, um, I know for yourself, you've been doing sound healing for quite some time, and now you're going to school. And do you see yourself, I guess, kind of, I guess you never really can predict the future because it's always unfolding in front of us. But do you envision yourself kind of going down a different path in terms of the modalities that you use. Like I know for a lot of psychologists, when they're doing more kind of healing work and trauma work, like a lot of people are incorporating things like somatic healing and different types of modalities like that, which I guess somatic, there's a lot of breath work in there
Mhm.
um, to begin with. So do you envision starting to put more focus on that type of work, or you're just kind of leaving it open to see what happens?
I'm going to leave that open to see what happens. It's less
Mm,
worry, less headache, less. I'm just going to let myself be guided to where I'm supposed to. And honestly, I don't know where I'm going with this. I have no idea. I'm enjoying the process of it. Um,
mm,
not enjoying the stress of the deadlines because that would be one thing. But here I am, right? I've uncovered some things about myself with mathematics.
mm,
Before I went to university, I have no idea how to. I didn't even math was completely something out of my element. And this morning, I sat down and read statistics and correlations and understood it. So that part of my journey, I'm ready for it, I guess, right? I unpacked
expanding.
whatever I unpacked whatever I had blocking my thought pattern or limiting. I'm going to say it was limiting me to believing that I couldn't do math or that I couldn't do this science part or that I couldn't, that piece of my life has been unblocked because I honestly believe we can do anything. If we are given enough time and space, we can do
Mm.
anything.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because I was reflecting on this the other day when I was journaling that we were talking about how like kind of healing and transformation, it's like an onion, right? Where there's like all these layers. And then I was reflecting back on like earlier versions of myself um, the other day, and I was like thinking about those layers of onions, but also like layers and versions of myself. And I don't regret any single one of them, but just to be able to see those stages of transformation and maybe the limiting beliefs that I've like let go over time, or like caring what other people think, and like all of these things that no longer serve purpose in my life. But then like coming back, but I saw it kind of like an onion or like these like orbs of self.
The
I'm not
spiral.
sure.
It's a
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Hmm.
And
So,
that's we have to, I talk to people a lot about that too, is that think about where you were even a year ago. Look at where you were, look at what you've been through in the past year.
hmm.
And not to plan the future, but can you imagine where you're going to be if this was your starting point? Can you imagine where you're going to be in 5 years if you
Hmm.
continue this way, right? And even if you veer off that path and you fall off and you eat bad foods and you don't do yoga practices and you don't go to see helpers and you're stuck in the mud for 6 months going through something,
Hmm.
there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
I love that. So we just have time for a couple more questions. So I have specific ones that I want to ask you. So um, for someone that's interested in exploring or beginning their journey in, and I won't tie it to a specific modality, but maybe just in um, kind of maybe being connected, living your truth. Doesn't even necessarily need to be about trauma, but just, being aware. And what advice would you give someone that feels like there's more? And what resources would you recommend to them? I don't know if my question made sense.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can answer it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. I'm going to answer
Hmm.
exactly how I'm supposed to answer, right? And maybe that
Yeah.
is the answer. That
Hmm.
maybe that's, we oftentimes we feel so lost. Like when we start this journey, it's like we're lost, and where do we go? And we want to gravitate to everything that that calls to us, but keep it simple. Just
Mm,
do simple and be observant. My biggest thing is deep listening and observe what comes out, listen to conversations that people are having around you, conversations that you're having, and that might help open up something different for you,
mm,
something that you didn't expect to be. Because even for myself, I had this whole map of how I should be laid out or what I wanted to do, and that's not how my life is turning out. So I'm just going to go with it. I'm just
mhm.
gonna go with it. And you know what? The anxiety is gone, worry's gone, all that stuff. And it's the art of not giving a beep anymore, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's true.
totally it. It's so true.
Mhm,
It's totally true. It's you just have to sometimes just let things just fall away when they're supposed to fall away, and walk into
mhm,
things when you're supposed to, and let down the fear of the unknown, right?
mhm.
Pick up a pendulum, start working in your room and light a candle. Get
Mm.
mysterious.
I love that. Um, and so my final question, and then I'll just kind of open it up to you if there's any other like messages you feel called to share. But um, do you have any kind of messages of hope or guidance um, that you would feel would be like important for our current times? And I don't know if the last question kind of answered that, but um, if there's anything that kind of calls to
When
you with
Yeah,
that.
well, you know what? Our world right now is really, really chaotic,
Mhm,
and come back to the inner journey, like that inner place. If you're seeing it outside, maybe we're all going through one of the biggest shifts and transformations that will come in our lifetime. And if it's chaotic out there, there's chaos and reorganization coming within you, right?
mhm, mhm.
So be grounded, stay grounded.
I love that.
And I think that's it.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if when coming into like planning for us to get together today, if there was any messages that you received that you felt you needed to share, or if we've kind of covered all the bases. But I just wanted to open it up to see if in anticipation to being on the podcast, if there was a message that you did want to
Well,
share.
I was totally nervous, but here I am. It's been a very, very
Yeah.
long time. I don't even think I've ever gone live on my own personal page, let alone to have to be on camera, which no, I'm not on camera, right? Here, let's push you a little bit, just to give you that space and let you try it out, and
Yeah.
just yeah, just be natural. I kept saying, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's going to be rehearsed questions. I wonder what it is going to be, and I didn't even have time to even think about it today, to be honest, and just come in and let the conversation happen.
Well, I thank you
What
so much. I
what are we
knew when,
preparing for?
yeah, I knew when I decided, because originally I was planning to do everything pre-recorded, and um, that kind of didn't work out, and I don't have time to edit. So I was like, we're just going to go live. We're just going to kind of go by the seat of our pants. And I believe in divine timing and everything else, and that it's just going to happen. Everything's going to happen as it should. And yes, but I knew that I wanted, you've been so just a really great beacon of positivity and good energy and just knowledge. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate you, not just for coming on the podcast today, but for also being a person in my world that I can always talk to about stuff like this and be able to expand my mind and my understanding. So I would like to say that I really do appreciate you, um, truly, from the bottom of my soul and my heart.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thank you so much.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for being on today. And yeah, that's kind of everything. Oh, wait, before we go, I did say that I was going to do a little raffle thing. There's like this whole little feature. I was like, oh, cute. So
Good
I'm
luck,
going to just,
everybody. Good luck.
yeah, it's going to draw the winner. Can you see that on the screen?
I can see it. Yeah. Ah,
So Megan,
snakes.
Yeah. So Megan, if you want to kind of message the Moonbeam Healing page, I will go ahead and get a $25 gift certificate set up for you. And yes, so thank you so much also for everyone that has joined the live, that came, that said hello. This is just the first of hopefully many, many more discussions with amazing people in this space. And so thank you for jumping on. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day.